Max Stirner's The Unique and Its Property, 1844, stands as a seminal text in the landscape of existentialist and anarchist thought, fundamentally challenging entrenched concepts of authority, morality, and identity. Written during a turbulent era, Stirner's polemic confronts both conservative and progressive ideologies of his time, including Christianity, Hegelianism, and emerging communist ideals, positioning himself as a radical advocate for individual autonomy. Unlike the universalizing abstractions prevalent in German idealism, Stirner centers the individual as the sole ontological reality, vehemently rejecting Hegel's notion of an all-encompassing universal spirit. His philosophical stance is also deeply influenced by romantic individualism, celebrating the individual's creative power and autonomy while rejecting collective identities and imposed social roles. This philosophical framework extends into a rigorous critique of religion, heavily drawing on Ludwig Feuerbach's argument that religion is a human projection. Stirner pushes this further, attacking not just Christianity but all abstract ideals that demand subjugation to external authorities. His rejection of these abstractions anticipates existentialist themes later elaborated by Nietzsche, Sartre, and Camus, notably the primacy of self-ownership and the refusal to submit to externally imposed meanings. Additionally, while often linked to anarchism for his rejection of the state's authority, Stirner's focus remains sharply on the individual rather than collective social struggle, marking a distinct strand within anarchist thought. The unique and the concept of self-ownership. Central to Stirner's philosophy is the notion of the unique, der Einzige, a concept that underscores the individual as a singular, irreducible entity whose existence transcends any imposed category, label, or collective identity. As Stirner writes, "I am not a mere person among persons, rather, I am the unique. No concept expresses me, nothing that is designated as my essence exhausts me." This rejection of societal roles, from worker to citizen, encourages a radical self-awareness, urging individuals to live authentically according to their own desires rather than predefined identities. This principle is closely tied to Stirner's expansive idea of property, which is not limited to material possessions but encompasses all that one appropriates and claims as their own, ideas, relationships, and personal beliefs alike. True freedom, Stirner argues, emerges from reclaiming this property from all external authorities. "What is mine belongs to me because I have the power to take it and use it," he insists, emphasizing that ownership is a matter of power and self-assertion rather than legal or moral entitlement. In practice, this means that intellectual property, one's personal convictions and creative outputs, should never be sacrificed to collective ideologies or institutional demands. Stirner's self-ownership thus resonates with contemporary debates about intellectual freedom, autonomy, and property rights, posing a direct challenge to any form of collective control that subsumes the individual under abstract, external claims. Critique of abstract ideals and the state. One of Stirner's most potent critiques targets abstract ideals such as God, morality, humanity, and the state, which he views as instruments of subjugation that alienate individuals from their own power and autonomy. He famously notes that the highest being is no longer God but humanity, pointing to secular humanism as a new form of religion that perpetuates the same oppressive logic by demanding allegiance to collective values. Religion, for Stirner, is an oppressive construct that enforces submission. Similarly, humanism and nationalism function as ideological systems that coerce individuals into serving collective ends. The state, in particular, is criticized for maintaining its authority by fostering the illusion that individuals exist primarily for the collective good rather than as autonomous beings. Nationalistic demands for loyalty and sacrifice, for instance, reduce individuals to mere means rather than ends in themselves. This critique remains highly relevant for contemporary analyses of how ideological systems, both religious and secular, operate as mechanisms of social control. Stirner's insights invite ongoing skepticism toward any abstract entity that claims supremacy over the individual's freedom. Egoism and the union of egoists. At the heart of Stirner's thought lies egoism, a philosophical stance advocating that individuals prioritize their own interests and desires over imposed moral duties or societal expectations. Importantly, Stirner's egoism transcends simplistic notions of selfishness, it is rather a robust affirmation of one's unique autonomy. He writes, "I am my own only when I am master of myself, instead of being mastered by religion, the state, or any other entity." This position challenges conventional moral frameworks and encourages authentic decision-making rooted in self-mastery rather than external conformity. For example, an individual who refuses to adhere to societal morality in favor of pursuing personal passions, despite the risk of social disapproval, exemplifies this egoistic ethos. However, Stirner also recognizes that individuals do not exist in isolation and proposes the concept of the union of egoists, a voluntary association where individuals collaborate based solely on mutual benefit and personal interest. He clarifies, a union of egoists is not a community or society, but an agreement based solely on personal interest. This model contrasts sharply with coercive or hierarchical social organizations, emphasizing free association without imposed obligations. Practical examples might include cooperatives or alliances where participation is contingent on consent and mutual advantage rather than ideological commitment. This idea has significantly influenced anarchist and libertarian discourses around non-hierarchical organization and voluntary cooperation. Rejection of conventional morality. Stirner's philosophy further includes a trenchant critique of conventional morality, which he sees as a societal tool designed to control individuals by subordinating their unique will to collective norms. Morality is the will of society, which denies the individual's own will, he asserts, highlighting how laws and moral codes often reflect societal interests rather than genuine individual freedom. For instance, legal prohibitions on certain personal behaviors, such as drug use, can be seen as expressions of societal morality rather than respect for individual autonomy. This critique provokes vital discussions about the tension between personal freedom and social order, questioning the legitimacy of normative frameworks that restrict authentic self-expression. Practical relevance in contemporary life. Stirner's thought continues to resonate profoundly with contemporary concerns about personal freedom, authority, and ethical autonomy. His philosophy inspires individuals to critically examine societal expectations and reclaim their autonomy from inherited structures. His skepticism toward the state and ideological conformity encourages a vigilant stance toward institutions that demand unreflective obedience. The union of egoists offers a pragmatic model for voluntary, non-coercive relationships in both personal and professional realms, emphasizing collaboration based on genuine mutual benefit rather than imposed duties. Moreover, his advocacy for egoism champions the ethics of self-care, underscoring the importance of prioritizing one's well-being and desires against external moral pressures. Finally, his critique of abstract ideals invites ongoing critical reflection on cultural, political, and religious norms, fostering a more nuanced understanding of freedom and authority. Critiques and intellectual engagements. Despite its influence, Stirner's philosophy has attracted various critiques. Marxist thinkers, including Karl Marx himself in the German Ideology, argue that Stirner's focus on ideas neglects the material conditions and real social relations underpinning society. Marx critiques Stirner for seeing only the specters of ideology without addressing the economic structures shaping human life. Friedrich Nietzsche shares Stirner's critique of morality but advances a more complex theory of power and creativity, centered on the will to power, where egoism must be transcended to create new values. Anarchists such as Emma Goldman have praised Stirner's rejection of state authority but also criticize his neglect of collective struggle, finding his egoism insufficient to address systemic oppression and social inequality. Feminist critiques highlight Stirner's radical individualism as overlooking the relational and communal dimensions of human identity, emphasizing the necessity of balancing personal autonomy with mutual care and interdependence. Nonetheless, Stirner's ideas anticipated key existentialist themes, particularly the emphasis on self-ownership and rejection of external constraints, which later thinkers like Sartre and Camus expanded upon, although they tended to emphasize responsibility and solidarity alongside freedom. Conclusion? In sum, Max Stirner's The Unique and Its Property offers a radical and provocative critique of authority, ideology, and morality, affirming the primacy of individual autonomy and self-ownership. His rejection of all external constraints and advocacy for egoism compel readers to critically examine the forces shaping their lives and to reclaim their unique freedom. Although Stirner's philosophy has faced significant critiques from Marxist, feminist, and anarchist perspectives, it remains an enduring and influential text, shaping ongoing debates about individualism, freedom, and the nature of human existence. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to keep updated on our upcoming content.